another stitch. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie, and today I am going to show you how to make the Happy Happy Beanie. And this is the beanie right here. And I also have it made in this colorway too. You can use whichever colors you want for this beanie. All right, so the colors that I use for today's tutorial, I use the Big Twist Value the Worsted 4-weight yarn. This is the colorway Bubblegum, the colorway Watermelon, and the colorway Cotton Candy. You can use any yarn that you want as long as it's a 4-weight yarn. And like I said, any color you want to use. And really, I want to see what this beanie looks like in different colorways. All right, so for the hook, you will need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You will need scissors. You will need a darning needle to weave in your ends and a stitch marker to mark the beginning of your rounds. So those are the supplies that you need. So let's get started. All right, we're gonna start the beanie with our first color of yarn. Now I'm using the colorway Bubblegum, but you can use whichever color you want for this tutorial. All right, we're going to start off making a magic ring. And this part of the beanie is the crown. We'll be increasing each row for the top of the beanie. All right, so we're going to make our magic ring. Your end piece is down here. You want to take the piece connected to your yarn and just make a ring like that. All right, and we're going to pinch where the two connect right here. Take your end piece, pull it through the loop like that. And this little side loop is where we're going to stick our crochet hook. And we're going to tighten it. And we're going to chain one. All right, I'm going to tighten up my ring a little. I'm going to pull on my end piece. That's how you tighten it. All right, let's add our stitch marker. And another method you can do if you don't like the magic ring, you can chain 5 and then slip stitch to join and then work into the circle it forms. But I prefer the magic ring method. All right, so for round 1, we're going to work 12 double crochet stitches into the magic ring. So we yarn over, go into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain, yarn over. Oops, my hand slipped. All right, go through 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through both loops. All right, let's do that again. Yarn over, go through the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through both loops. And another thing I want to point out, you have your end piece, so there's actually 2 strings of yarn that you're working through. So just keep that in mind. All right, we have 2 stitches in the magic ring. Let's do this again. Yarn over, go through the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through both loops. 3 double crochets now. Let's do this again. Double crochet. All right. we now have 4 double crochets. So just keep doing your double crochets until you have 12 double crochets into the magic ring, and that is where we're going to meet back up. Okay, we have our 12 double crochet stitches into the magic ring. Now you want to take your end piece and tighten it. That way you close up that gap. All right. So now we are going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch where the stitch marker is. So just go into that stitch, yarn over, and pull through everything like that. And that is a slip stitch, and we chain 1. All right, let's move our stitch marker. So for round 2, you're going to do 2 double crochet stitches into each double crochet stitch. So when you end this round, you will have 24 double crochet stitches. So let's do 2 in that first stitch, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through the other 2 loops. That's your first double crochet. Now let's double crochet again into that same stitch. All right. Now go into the next stitch and do 2 double crochet stitches. All right. That's 2. Go into the next stitch and do 2 double crochet stitches. That's 1. And that's 2. So just keep doing that all the way around. 2 double crochet stitches in each stitch until you have your 24 double crochet stitches, and we will meet back up there. Okay, you should have 24 double crochet stitches, and be sure to count them to make sure you have 24, because sometimes people can work into that slip stitch or the chain stitch thinking that that's a stitch to work into, and you do not work into that slip stitch or chain. So be sure you have 24 stitches at this point. All right, so we are going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch where the stitch marker is. So go into that stitch, yarn over, and go through everything. Now we're going to chain 1 again and move your stitch marker. So for round 3, we are going to do 1 double crochet into the first stitch, and then the next stitch will have 2 double crochet stitches. So at the end of this round, you will have 36 double crochet stitches. All right, so this is what you do. The first stitch, you double crochet, 1 double crochet. Then you go to the second stitch, and we're doing 2 double crochets into that second stitch. One, and 2. All right, so the next stitch is 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch you're going to work 2 double crochet stitches. Okay, that's 2, and you repeat as 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochet stitches into the following stitch. So let's do this one more time. 1 double crochet in that next stitch, and then the following stitch we're working 2 double crochets. One, and 2, and just keep going all the way around, repeating that 1 double crochet in the next stitch, then 2 double crochet into the following stitch. And when you end this round, you will have 36 stitches, and your last stitch you end with 2 double crochets into that last stitch, and that is where we will meet back up. Okay, you should now have 36 double crochet stitches. So, and you just ended with 2 double crochet stitches in that last stitch. All right, we're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch where the stitch marker is. So put your hook through that stitch, yarn over, and pull through everything on your hook. All right, chain 1, and let's move our stitch marker. So for round 4, the repeat is 1 double crochet in the first stitch, then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet stitches into the following stitch. And when you finish this round, you will have 48 double crochet stitches. All right, so let's do 1 double crochet into that first stitch, all right, now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet stitches into the next stitch. So that's 1, and then now we do a second one. All right, 2. All right, so we're just going to repeat that. In the next stitch, we do 1 double crochet stitch, in the next stitch, we do 1 double crochet stitch, and then the next stitch, we're doing 2 double crochet stitches into. One, and 2. Let's do this one more time. All right, so let's double crochet into the next stitch, and then we double crochet into the next stitch, all right, and then the next stitch we do 2 double crochet stitches into. One, and 2. So just keep repeating that all the way around. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, then 1 double crochet into the following stitch, then 2 double crochet stitches into the following stitch. Okay, you should now have 48 double crochet stitches. So we're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet where the stitch marker is, and chain 1. And let's move our stitch marker. All right, so for round 5, the repeat is going to be 1 double crochet stitch in each of the first 3 stitches, and then 2 double crochet stitches into the following stitch. And when you finish this round, you will have 60 double crochet stitches. All right, so let's double crochet into the first stitch. Double crochet into the second stitch. Double crochet into the third stitch. And then 2 double crochet stitches into the fourth. 2 double crochet stitches into the fourth stitch. All right, so again, we double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet stitch. All right, 1 double crochet into the following stitch. All right, 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And then we do 2 double crochet stitches in the next stitch. 1, and 2, and that's your repeat. Let's do it one more time. 1 double crochet into the next stitch. 1 double crochet into the following stitch. 1 double crochet into the next stitch. All right, and then the next stitch we do 2 double crochet stitches into. 1 and 2. So just keep repeating that all the way around. 1 double crochet stitch into each of the next 3 stitches. And then the following stitch, you do 2 double crochet stitches. So when you end this round, you will have 60 double crochet stitches, and your last stitch will have 2 double crochet stitches into it. So I'll see you there. Okay, you should have 60 double crochet stitches. All right, so we're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet stitch, chain 1. Let's move our stitch marker. So for round 6, you're going to be doing 1 double crochet stitch into the first 4 stitches, and then in the 5th stitch, you do 2 double crochet stitches. And when you finish this round, you will have 72 double crochet stitches. And this is the last row of increases. So after this, your stitch count will remain at 72 stitches for all the rounds until you get to the brim. The brims worked a little differently. Also, this is the last round of the crown. All right, so double crochet into that first stitch. One. All right, 1 double crochet into the second stitch. 1 double crochet into the third stitch. And 1 double crochet stitch into that 4th stitch. All right, now we do 2 double crochet stitches into the 5th stitch. 1 and 2, and that is your repeat. All right, let's double crochet into the next 4 stitches. That's your first one. Now go into the next stitch and double crochet. Okay, go into the following stitch, 1 double crochet stitch. All right, and then the next stitch is 1 double crochet stitch. And the following stitch gets 2 double crochet stitches. 1, and 2. All right, let's do this one more time. All right, 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Then 1 double crochet into the following stitch. One double crochet into the next stitch, sorry. And then 1 double crochet stitch into the following stitch. All right, and then the next stitch gets 2 double crochet stitches. That's 1, and that's 2. And just keep doing this all the way around. 1 double crochet in each one of the next 4 stitches, and then the 5th stitch gets 2 double crochet stitches. And when we meet back up, you will have 72 double crochet stitches. And actually, we're going to work the very last double crochet stitch together, because we will be changing colors at that point. So I need to show you how to incorporate the next color. So we work that very last double crochet stitch together. Okay, I am approaching my last stitch. So in the last stitch, it's 2 double crochet stitches. So I'm going to work my first one. All right, and then I'm going to work my second one into that same stitch. So I'm going to start it off, yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through 2 loops. All right, so this is where I'm going to incorporate the second color. And I'm using watermelon for my second color. So I am going to take my yarn in the first color and cut it. Leave a long enough tail to weave in your end. But I'm going to show y'all a little trick. We're going to weave it in while we're working the stitches. All right. So I'm grabbing color 2. Like I said, mine is watermelon, the colorway. You wrap it around your hook like this. And now we're going to finish the stitch off. All right. Now we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, the first double crochet stitch. And we're going to chain 1. And I'm going to give a tug on both of my end pieces. Because you don't want it to be all loose and floppy. All right, so now we're starting the body of the beanie. And for round 7, we're going to half double crochet into every stitch around. So you yarn over, go into that very first stitch, and you want to take your 2 end pieces here and lay them on top of your crochet hook. All right, so now we're going to yarn over, go through those 2 end pieces and the original stitch. So you're left with 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And we just keep doing that. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, and I also have the end pieces on top. Yarn over, go through the end pieces and the original stitch, 3 loops left, yarn over, go through all 3 stitches. So just continue doing your half double crochet stitches. And like I said, I carry the end pieces on the top of the stitch. Oops, I forgot to yarn over. That would help. And you just keep doing this. All right, I've carried the end pieces enough, so I'm going to take my scissors and cut the excess. I love that little trick. I do it whenever I can in patterns. All right, so we're going to continue with the half double crochet stitch. So yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Again, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, go through all 3. I'm going to do it one more time. Yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops, and just continue doing your half double crochet stitches all the way around. And when you get to the end of the round, you will still have 72 stitches, and we'll meet back up there. Okay, you should now have 72 half double crochet stitches, and I advise that you count your stitches to double check. All right, so we're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet stitch and chain 1. All right, I need to point out something to you on this row. For round 8 and round 9, we will be working half double crochet stitches into the 3rd loop. So you have your stitch here, and normally you go through like this, and this is your front loop, and this is your back loop. So if you turn your work a little, you will see that there is a bore right here. That is your 3rd loop, and that is what we're going to be working into. And I'll show it to you on another stitch. You see, here's your stitch. You turn your work, and your bore is right here. That is your 3rd stitch. All right, so that is what we're working into. All right, let's move our stitch marker. And everything else about this stitch is worked the same way like you would a half double crochet stitch, except you're going into the 3rd loop. All right, so yarn over, find that bore behind the stitch right here. Yarn over, go through that bore, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. All right, let's do that again. Yarn over, find that third loop, yarn over, go through the third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 stitches. Okay, let's do this a couple of more times. We yarn over, find that third loop, yarn over, go through the third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. All right, again, yarn over, find the next third loop, yarn over, go through that third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And just keep doing half double crochet in the third loop all the way across, and we will meet back up when you reach the end of the round. Okay, you should have 72 stitches. So make sure you have 72 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch and chain 1. And let's move our stitch marker. So for round 9, it's going to be another round of half double crochet stitches in the third loop. So we're going to yarn over, find that third loop, yarn over, go through the third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. So again, yarn over, find the third loop, yarn over, go through that third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 stitches. All right, I'm doing it one more time. Yarn over, go through that third loop, yarn over, go through the third loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops, and keep doing this all the way around. Now for the last stitch, we're going to work together because we are going to be incorporating our third color. So we'll meet back up there. Okay, you should have 1 stitch remaining. So we're going to yarn over, go through that third loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops remaining. And at this point, you want to cut your yarn, which I already did. So cut that yarn, and we're going to incorporate our third color. And for my third color, I am using cotton candy for my colorway. So I'm going to wrap it around my hook like that. And I always pull tight when I do this to make sure it's nice and snug on the hook. And I pull it through those 3 loops. All right, so now I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch of the round and chain 1. All right, I'm moving my stitch marker. So for round 10, the first stitch we're going to single crochet into. And since we have ends to weave in, I'm going to take my 2 end pieces, I'm going to give them a yank to make sure they're snug, that it's tight. Put it on top your hook like that. All right. So now I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to go through those 2 end pieces and the base of the stitch. You have 2 loops remaining. Yarn over, go through those loops. Okay, so now we're going to do a single crochet 3 together. So we're going to work into the first stitch again to start the stitch right here. So we go back into that same stitch we did the single crochet stitch into. And you want to have your end pieces on top. We're going to yarn over, pull through, pull up a loop. So you have 2 loops on your hook. You go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. And when you pull up your loop, you're going through the 2 end pieces and the original stitch. All right, you have 3 loops on your hook. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 4 loops, yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. Now you want your chain 1 a little on the loose side, because on the next round, you're going to be working into the chain 1. And the chain 1 in between the single crochet 3 together stitches will count towards your stitch count. All right, so now we're going to do another single crochet 3 together stitch. And again, you start it in the last stitch you previously worked into, which is right here. And on this round especially, it's easy to tell because this stitch is in your previous color and your new color connects to that stitch. So this is where we're working into starting the stitch. All right. So go in that stitch, carry your yarn, your end pieces on top, yarn over, go through those end pieces and your original stitch. You have 2 loops on your hook. Go into the next stitch, carrying your end pieces, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops. Go into the next stitch, and again, your end pieces, you carry them on top. Yarn over, go through those end pieces and that original stitch. 4 loops left, yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. And don't worry, I'm going to do the stitch after we finish carrying the end pieces to make sure you see how the stitches worked. All right. Now again, you go into that same stitch you last worked into. You carry your end pieces on top, yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, carry those end pieces, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. And now you go into the next stitch, carry those end pieces, yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. So now I'm going to trim those end pieces. All right. So now we don't have to carry the end pieces anymore. So we go into that same stitch we last worked into, right here. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. We'll do this a couple of more times to make sure you have it. Go into that same stitch you last worked into, yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. All right, last time. Go into that same stitch you last worked into, yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops, and chain 1. And you're going to continue doing this all the way around until you have 1 stitch remaining. And we'll meet back up at that point when you have 1 stitch remaining. Okay, you should have just finished your last single crochet 3 together stitch and then did a chain 1 afterwards. All right, so we have 1 stitch remaining, and we are going to single crochet into that last stitch. All right, so let's slip stitch to join and chain 1. All right, so for round 11, it's almost worked exactly the same way. The only difference is you're working into the chain stitches. All right, so in the very first stitch, we're going to single crochet again. Okay, so now we're going to start our single crochet 3 togethers. And we're going to go back into that stitch where we worked the single crochet, the first stitch. You yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Now you're going into that chain stitch. And you yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops, and chain 1. Okay, one thing when you're working the single crochet 3 together, you always start it in your chain stitch from the previous round. So we're going back into that last stitch worked, which is the chain stitch right here. You yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Now you're going back, going into the next chain stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You got 4 loops. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. And if you notice, when you finish your stitch, that last stitch you work into is that chain stitch from the previous round, the tighter stitch. All right, so let's do this a few more times to make sure you have it. Go back into the same chain that you previously worked into. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Now you go into the chain space from the previous round. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. All right, one more time. Go into that chain space that you previously, chain stitch you previously worked into. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 2 loops remain. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Now you go into that chain stitch from the previous round. Yarn over, pull up a loop. 4 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops and chain 1. And keep doing this all the way around until you have 1 stitch left, and that is where we're going to meet back up. Okay, you should have just did your last single crochet 3 together stitch and then chained 1 afterwards. You have 1 stitch remaining, and we're going to single crochet into that last stitch, and then slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. All right, so for rounds 12 and 13, it is a repeat of the round that you just did, round 11. So you chain 1 at the start of the rounds, you single crochet into that first stitch, and then you work your single crochet 3 together, but you always start your single crochet 3 together and the last stitch you previously worked, and then you chain 1 after. So you just keep doing your single crochet 3 together, chain 1 until you have 1 stitch remaining, and your last stitch is always a single crochet stitch and then slip stitch to join. So repeat round 11 2 more times, and we'll meet back up once you have finished round 13. I do need to clarify one thing. On round 13, we're going to work that last single crochet stitch together on that round because we will be changing colors again, so we have to incorporate a new color. So on round 13, we're going to work that last single crochet stitch together, the very last stitch. Okay, you should have done your last single crochet 3 together and then chained 1 afterwards. So now we're going to start our single crochet stitch into the next stitch, but we're going to be incorporating another color on the last step of the single crochet. So go in the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops remain, and cut your yarn, leave a long enough tail to weave in your end. I already cut my yarn, but all right. So we're going to be taking our second color, and for me that was watermelon, and incorporate that color back into the beanie. So wrap it around your hook and pull through those 2 loops. All right, now we're going to slip stitch to that first stitch and chain 1. All right, let's move our stitch marker to mark the beginning of the round. So now we're starting round 14. Round 14 is a round of half double crochet stitches. So we yarn over, go through that first stitch, and we're going to carry our end pieces. So put those on top your hook. Yarn over, go through those end pieces and the initial stitch, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Okay, now we're gonna yarn over, go into the next stitch, carry your end pieces on top your hook, yarn over, go through the stitch, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Again, you yarn over, go through the next stitch, carry your end pieces on top, yarn over, go through the stitch, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. We're going to yarn over, go through the next stitch, carry your end pieces on top, yarn over, go through the stitch, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And again, yarn over, go through the stitch. That one was tight. All right, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And at this point, I'm going to cut my end pieces. All right. So I'm going to do a couple of half double crochet stitches without carrying the end pieces, just to make sure that you have it. Yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And then you go into the next stitch, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through the 3 loops. And then yarn over, go through the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. And just continue this all the way around, and we'll meet back up when you get to the end of the round. Okay, we're at the end of round 14. So we're going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet of the round. And then we chain 1. All right, so for round 15 and round 16, we're going to be doing half double crochet stitches into the 3rd loop. And if you recall, that's the loop that is behind the back loop. So we yarn over, find that back loop. Find that 3rd loop. Yarn over, go through the 3rd loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. All right, again, you yarn over, go through that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. All right, let's do this a couple of more times. Yarn over, go through that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. All right, last time, yarn over, go through that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. So continue doing this all the way around for round 15. Then you're going to do it again for round 16. But for the last stitch of round 16, we're going to work together because we will be incorporating another color into the beanie. So let's meet back up there. Okay, we have 1 stitch left for round 16. So we're going to start our half double crochet in the 3rd loop in that last stitch. So yarn over, go into that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops remain. So we're going to take our scissors and cut the yarn. And now we're going to go back to color 1. And my color 1 was bubblegum. And this is the last time we're going to be changing colors. All right, so wrap it around your hook and pull it through those 3 loops. All right, now we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round and chain 1. And let's move our stitch marker. So for round 17, this is a round of single crochet stitches. So we're just going to be single crocheting into every stitch. So go into that first stitch and let's carry our 2 end pieces on top the hook, yarn over, go through those 2 end pieces and the original stitch. You have 2 loops left, yarn over, go through those 2 stitches. And just keep doing like this until we get that end weaved in. I'm just single crocheting and I'm carrying my end pieces. Oops. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trim those end pieces. And I'm just going to continue doing single crochet stitches. So go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through those 2 loops. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through those 2 loops. Go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops remain, yarn over, go through those 2 loops. And just do this all the way around, and we'll meet back up at the end of the round. Okay, we are at the end of round 17, so we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet stitch of the round. All right, and we have finished the body of the beanie. Now we're going to work on the brim, and we're going to do a ribbed brim for this beanie. Now, most of the time when you see rib beanies, you see them worked bottom to top. But this beanie is worked top down. So you have to go about it a little differently, but I will show you everything you need to know. All right. So now we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we are going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So go into the second chain from the hook and single crochet. And now we're just going to single crochet across the chain. So I'm single crocheting in the next chain. Then the next chain. And the next chain. And then the final chain. So at this point, you should have 5 single crochet stitches. Let me remove my stitch marker. So we are going to slip stitch into the next stitch right here. And then you slip stitch into the next stitch after that. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn. So now we're going to work into those single crochet stitches that we just did. But we're going to single crochet into the back loop. So this is your front loop right here of the stitch. And then back here, right there is your back loop. We're only going through the back loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have our 5 single crochet stitches. We're going to chain 1 and turn. And we're going to single crochet into the back loops. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So now this is going to be the repeat of what you're doing. You're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. See, we're connected here. You go into the next stitch. And slip stitch. Then you go into the following stitch and slip stitch. You chain 1 and turn. All right, and then you start working into the back loops only of the 5 single crochet stitches going down. And it's back loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now you chain 1 and you turn your work. And you just work back up those 5 single crochet stitches in the back loop only. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch of the body of the beanie. So we slip stitch here, then you go into the next stitch of the body and slip stitch. You chain 1 and you turn. Okay, So now we're going to single crochet into the back loops again of those 5 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and my stitch is hiding from me. There. All right, and 5. So you chain 1 and turn your work. All right, and you just work back up those 5 stitches, single crochet back loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you just start this all over again. You slip stitch into the next stitch of the body of the beanie. Slip stitch into the next stitch of the body of the beanie. Chain 1 and turn. And now we single crochet into the back loop only of those 5 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, turn your work. And now you just work back up those 5 single crochet stitches doing single crochet in the back loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, we're going to do this one more time to make sure you have it. All right, now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch on the body of the beanie. So right here, slip stitch, then you slip stitch into the next stitch on the body of the beanie. You chain 1, turn your work, and we are going to single crochet into the back loop only of those 5 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, you chain 1, turn your work, and you work back up those 5 single crochet stitches. Back loop only. Single crochet in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's what you just keep doing all the way around. You slip stitch into the next stitch of the body, slip stitch into the next stitch of the body, chain 1, turn. Then you work 5 single crochet stitches in the back loop on these stitches going up here. You hit the end, you chain 1, turn, then work back down and just keep doing that all the way around. And we will meet back up when you get to the end of the brim, and I'll show you what to do there. But as you can see, you're getting that ribbed effect for your brim. Okay, so I just worked down my 5 stitches, and you should have 1 stitch remaining. We're going to slip into that stitch, and I'm going to cut my yarn. Leave a long enough tail so you can sew your seams together and weave in your end. All right, so we're just going to pull it through that stitch completely, your slip stitch. Now we're going to thread our darning needle. Okay. And we're going to go through the front loop of this stitch. And then your other stitch. Go through the front loop here. And then through your next stitch. Go through your front loop. And then your next stitch. And just keep sewing your seam. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's get that last. All right. So now I am going to weave in my end on the inside. I'm going to go back up one more time. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's on the inside. Nobody sees it. So I'm going to cut my yarn. All right. Now I'm going to turn the beanie inside out. and you have this yarn at the top. And what I like to do, I'm going to thread my darning needle again. I like to go through some of these stitches in that center point just to secure it better in place. And I'm going to go through that loop like so. Now, I'm not going to weave in this end anymore or cut the yarn because I will be attaching a palm to mine. But that is all there is to making this beanie. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and you can add a palm like I added on mine. You can wear this beanie with or without a palm. But if you make the beanie, I would love to see your beanies. You can email me a picture at justanotherstitch2020@gmail.com. All right, so now it's time to leave the keyword for the Gobble Gobble giveaway. I'm going to pick one person randomly to get 20 extra entries into the giveaway. This is a giveaway going on for the month of November of 2024. So this giveaway may not be going on when you view this tutorial, but the keyword for a chance to get 20 extra entries into the Gobble Gobble giveaway is bountiful, and I will pick one person randomly. Good luck. So I hope everyone has a fabulous yarny day. Bye, everyone.